Hello and welcome back. So in the first video, I spoke briefly about story plots, about beginnings, middles, endings, rising action, falling action. Today I actually want to talk about something that I'm going to be posting about within the next couple of days. It's the one sentence summary. And you're probably thinking, all right, what is that? So if you're working on a story, it doesn't matter if it's a short story, a novel, novella, whatever your content's going to be, you should be able to tell people what it's about. And what I mean by that is, if someone approaches you and asks, what is your story about? You should be able to give them a summary in one long sentence. If you can do it in a short sentence, great, but preferably a long sentence, because chances are you're going to need to include certain details so the person has some idea of what your story is actually about. Now, if you can't, you may have a problem. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm probably dating myself by saying this, but about 10 years ago, there was a show called Lost on ABC. It was extremely popular. 121 episodes, ran for 6 seasons. Tons of people watched it. Tons of people loved it. I personally didn't get into it, but I had coworkers at the job I was working at the time who watched it religiously. So I'd ask them, what is Lost about? What's so exciting about it? You're like, oh, it's there's a plane crash, and there's an island, and weird stuff happens, and there might be a cult living there, and sometimes there's aliens, and I'm looking at them like, what are you talking about? What is Lost about? No one could give me a definitive answer. And I thought, wow, this is such an extremely popular show, and no one knows what it's really about. No one can actually articulate what this show is about, and they love it so much. You don't want to run into that problem with your book or your story or whatever you're working on. You should be able to tell people what it's about. If you can't put into words in one long sentence the essence of your story, chances are it's probably too complicated, and readers may find themselves losing interest. They may not finish reading the story, or they may not be interested in reading it at all. And as a writer, you don't want to face that. So I'm going to use one of my books as an example. First book I published in 2009 is called Fortune's Wing. It's a sci-fi/fantasy story for middle school age readers. I can tell you what that book is about in one long sentence. It's about a young man who grows a single wing on his back and learns that he is part of a prophecy to either save or destroy the world. Boom, that's it. I don't need to start getting into a whole bunch of complicated details. Are there other things that happen in the story? Are there parts to it? Of course. I don't need to give that away. I just need to give you the basics of the story. So I just gave you the basis of that story in one long sentence. So take a look at what you're writing. What is it about? Now, I'm not saying go through the entire plot, tell us the introduction and the rising action, the climax and everything. Just be able to give the basis of what the story is about. If someone asked me to summarize the show Law and Order, I would say it's a show about detectives who solve crimes and catch criminals, and district attorneys who then prosecute those criminals. The show was on the air for almost 20 years. I can't even tell you how many episodes. I'm sure I could probably Google that and look it up, but that's it in a nutshell. So if someone were to ask me, what is Law and Order about? That's the answer I would give them. So take a close look at what you're working on. Can you summarize it in one long sentence? If you can, then yes, you are on the right track. If you can't, it might be time to pause and take a look at the details. Maybe you're putting too many events or too many characters into your story. So until next time, thank you for watching. If you liked what you've heard today, please give us a like and also hit subscribe. Until next time, happy writing.